and welcome to the Accessibility New York City Meetup. This is our May event. Really excited to have you all here. Yeah. Excited to have you all here today. We want to thank our event hosts, ThoughtBot. This is ThoughtBot that you're at today. And we graciously appreciate having this space for our events. We also have Jolly McPhee from the Internet Society of New York streaming our presentation out on the web. So we have already some people on the live stream I know participating. We also want to make sure that as we have these events, we'll be having this event the first Tuesday of every month. And so as in general, if you have a topic that you'd be interested in either presenting or if you know someone that you think would be an interesting topic for our meetup, we try to keep the meetup very broad and diverse. You know, last month we had a presentation on autism, from a psychologist and author. This month we have Link NYC, and we're talking about kiosk accessibility. So really happy to introduce the team from Link NYC. We've got Ruth Fassolt, Emily Peace, and Kevin Green. If you don't know Link, then I don't think you're a New Yorker. It's pretty pervasive now to see the Link installations around the city. And we have actually going to be able to have a live demonstration today. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Ruth and get started. Thanks.
So we're just figuring out logistics. Okay. Thank you so much for letting us come to talk to you today. We're really thrilled to be here. We don't need to do introductions because you just did that for us. So we'll just dive right in. So we can go to the next slide. So if you didn't know what Link was, here we go. So Links we work for a company called Intersection, and we are partnered with the City of New York to replace all the old payphones with Link NYC kiosks. So this is a project that started years ago, actually under Mayor Bloomberg. He saw that there was real estate across the 5 boroughs, this prime real estate, with these old payphones sitting there that no one needed anymore because we were using our cell phones. And he saw a great digital divide building in our community. So he started this idea, and then it carried through to Mayor de Blasio, and they launched the reinvention of the payphone, and our company won it. And so now we are building Links and replacing all the old payphones. Link kiosks are about 9 feet tall, about 11 inches wide. So they're actually much skinnier than old payphones. So we're also opening up the streetscapes, making more room. If you think about those old payphones that were 2 or 3 phone banks full, that's 4-6 feet wide on the street, and our Links bring it down to about 11 inches. So what Link does is it brings free Wi-Fi to everyone in New York City. It also has free phone calling from the tablet, which we'll walk through in a moment. The tablet also has lots of apps on it that you can explore in a curated way, such as Maps. You can access 311. You can access city social services. We have the weather on there at all times. We have a transit app, so you can find when your train is coming or when your bus is coming. So this is all right here across the city as part of this one Link NYC network. I started by mentioning, you want to go to the next slide? I started by mentioning the Wi-Fi. So that is really the core of what the project is. Everybody can access this Wi-Fi for free, and it is not regular Wi-Fi. It is super fast gigabit Wi-Fi. That's what this is supposed to demonstrate, if it wasn't obvious. This Wi-Fi is faster than anything I can even pay for in my own home. And the reason we built it this fast is because we have a contract with the city that we will be building and running this project for at least 12 to 15 years. And when internet was invented, you couldn't have imagined Netflix, right? So we wanted to build a network that was big enough and strong enough to handle all the technology that's coming down the pike that will be here in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Let's see, what else do we have? What's the next slide? Okay, so that's really an overview of what Link NYC is. A couple other quick things that once Kevin tells you how to connect, but you connect once and you're connected always. So you connect to the Wi-Fi and then you can show up. You can connect at a Link in Queens by your home and then go to work in downtown Manhattan or Staten Island and automatically be connected to the Link there. So it's one network, and it's a pretty amazing product. So we'll talk more, but I'm going to turn it over to Kevin, who is going to talk through the actual logistics of how you connect to the Wi-Fi.
Cool, thanks Ruth. So for some background, I'm Kevin Green. I work on the product team at Intersection, working on Link. So a lot of the products that we've built, I've helped define the requirements for and user test and go through iterations. So I wanted to keep this kind of informal. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand and I'll call on you. Hopefully we have a slide that addresses it, but if not, then we can just kind of live figure this out. I'll hand the mic to you or something. So I think what Ruth mentioned is probably the most important feature for the Wi-Fi, in my opinion, being able to connect once, signing on once, giving your email address, and then never having to do it again. So it's different from the Boingo Wi-Fis or the Transit Wirelesses of the world, where you constantly have to keep going back to a page and seeing an ad and doing something. This is just one time. So Emily, if you scroll down, it's really simple. Same way you would sign on for the Wi-Fi here. If anyone's on the Wi-Fi here, you go to your settings, you select the Wi-Fi setting in your device. This is an iPhone screenshot here, but you would select Link NYC free Wi-Fi as the network name, and then you would get prompted to this browser, a captive portal network assistant. And from here, it's really small, so I'll kind of talk through it, but it just says enjoy fast free Wi-Fi. Enter email address, continue, and then there's some disclaimer copy on the bottom that has our privacy policy and terms and conditions and stuff like that. So if you type an email address in, if you're an iPhone user, you'll see these two screens on the left, which it says good news, and I can't read the rest, so I'll go verbatim. It's kind of, it says you have access to our encrypted Wi-Fi. To do so, you have to download a private network key, and then there's two call to actions. One of them says download, and the other is skip. If you skip, you just get put on our regular free Wi-Fi. If you download, you get hit to your operating system settings, which is this install profile page. And what happens is a private network key actually gets installed in your operating system, which then encrypts the traffic from your device to actually the link. So it's more secure than your other normal public Wi-Fis that you would use. So it encrypts all the traffic from when you're using it. And this is for iPhones right now, for iOS, I should say, actually. Works on tablets as well. But and we're trying to figure out how to roll this out for Android users as well. So if you're an Android user, you would see that first screen. You would click connect, and you would just connect, and you're done. And that's the one time you have to do it.
And just for folks who are here, we have how to connect sort of handouts. So these are on the table. There's some in Braille, and there's some just in large text that kind of outline exactly what Kevin just went through on the screen. Yeah. Cool.
So our Link Wi-Fi users, we refer to them as subscribers because it's an opt-in basis. We could call any New Yorker really a user because if you pass a link, maybe you've seen some content or an ad, so technically you're a user. So we call them subscribers. And we deployed originally in January 2016. And since that date, we've gotten 3.8 million users go through that onboarding flow that I just showed you guys. So that's our current number right now, and it's increasing every day as we put new links in the ground. And today, this is probably behind since I updated these numbers yesterday, but we're at 1,530 active links. And I know there's two up on the corner of 38 over here in Broadway, and then one in 37th in Broadway. So we'll get more into that in a second. But and to jump ahead a little bit, the tablet that you see right here, I just pulled it out of the link that was on the corner over there. So if you happen to walk over there might just be a big hole in it. So that's where this came from. But each link has a tablet that looks like this. It runs an Android operating system on it. So it's customized and it runs off of AOSP, which is Android open source project. So we forked our own operating system off of Android, and we leverage TalkBack for a screen reader. So I'm sure everyone here is familiar with TalkBack, but if you're not, it's a screen reader technology. So we're actually on the latest version of Google's TalkBack, which is great. So when I demo it, you'll hear, but the voice is actually really legible, and it's really great. So it comes fully baked with that. So I'll demo you the features. I don't know if it's the next slide or not. No.
Just yet.
So I'll demo that in a bit. Teaser.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. So when we were building Link, we definitely wanted it to be something that makes is accessible to all communities and becomes a beloved part of the New York City community. So if you want to go to the first slide, first and foremost, that meant we were designing the physical structure with accessibility in mind. So as Ruth mentioned, it's 9 feet tall, but it was designed to be very slender on the streetscape. And it's very smooth on the edges. So there's no impediment sticking out into the sidewalk. It blends into the cityscape. So we're really proud of that kind of forward-thinking urban design. But also the tablet that Kevin referenced here is at the appropriate ADA height at 48 inches above the sidewalk. To allow for accessibility there. We also have the two 55-inch digital displays. These provide the public messaging that Ruth had mentioned for community information. We do community board announcements, weather, things like that, but it also provides the ads, of course, that fund the infrastructure for this project. Each link also does have beacons inside them. So this allows us potential for collaboration with third-party applications that can help provide much more precise location information for those third-party tools. So it's one of those aspects that Ruth mentioned of a forward-thinking feature that's in the structure that can help enable future technology and other things that are being built to help wayfinding throughout the city.
Sorry, just to jump on that. I think it's a really cool technology that we have in Link that we haven't been leveraging to its full capabilities. So folks like you guys all in the room, if you have any interesting ideas or you work for a company or your friends work for a company that uses beacons in some interesting way, we have beacons all across the city. So it could be some interesting thing to collaborate on and open up this network to be more open source because that's kind of the ethos that we have at our company, to kind of be a part of the community in a way that's just useful for us, people who live in New York. So it's one of those things that I find really interesting about Link that we haven't really capitalized on its full potential yet.
Yep.
But we've got those 12 to 15 years, so.
Long project, yes. So, and the other thing just to note is that, obviously our website as well and our onboarding experience that Kevin mentioned also is WCAG compliant with the WCAG 2.0 standards. So that's all updated as well. The tablet itself, as you can see in front of you and on the photo here, has 911 button, USB charging ports and headphone jack with braille and icons to kind of indicate where those are. The 911 button itself, as we were initially designing the structure, we worked a lot with MOPD, the Mayor's Office of Persons with Disabilities, to get a lot good feedback. And one of the key things they mentioned for us was the 911 button itself. There was a potential to have sort of accidental presses, so we added a rim around it to prevent accidentally pressing the button. But we also do have a 2-press system, so if you press the button the first time, you'll hear an audio message and a written message on the screen that will inform you that you have to press it twice, which Kevin, go ahead and do it right now.
And we'll have this tablet here, so if anyone wants to play with it after, you can come check it out. But so yeah, the rim is here, and the pictures really don't do it justice. But the tactile keypad here, it's the same as the old payphones had. So it's a 12 key keypad, and it has a dot on the 5. And then this extra row that we added down here, this extra column, I should say, actually, has dots and X's and pluses and minuses for the different features that it has. So I'm just going to press this 911 button just like anyone would in the street.
911 emergency. Press the 911 button again to connect your emergency call to 911. Dialing 911 in a non-emergency situation is a crime. Double tap the touchscreen to cancel this call.
So that was a recommended feature from the NYPD to prevent, lots of prank calls from people just walking down and pressing the button.
Yeah, and as you could kind of tell, it came from the speaker that's located up here. So if any time, even if you have headphones plugged in, it will make that announcement and show up. So, yeah, that's
cool.
That's
and the other piece that we have too is each tablet assembly is equipped with a hearing loop, so T-coil enabled devices can have amplified hearing that comes out of that as well.
all real tablets do. This one actually doesn't
Oh, this one
because I brought it from our office today.
I thought you
but
pulled it from the street, Kevin.
Yeah, right. The ones in the street. I left that in the link. The ones in the street I
Yes,
do.
do have. Yeah. So, and I think the most part where we've done a lot of customization is around our TalkBack feature that Kevin was introducing, and I think he can walk you through the demo of how we applied TalkBack to our specific Android, very customized operating system.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I want to call out is with any good product, it's important that you do user testing with diverse user groups. So a majority of the features that you're going to see that are here now and that I'm going to walk through with TalkBack came from direct user feedback from us bringing in folks to our office and doing street intercepts and things like that to understand how real people would use the tablet and just use Link in general. I'll call out certain things, little tidbits that I find interesting that came from actually user testing that we set up. To kind of jump in first, the way to initiate TalkBack is using headphones. So we actually have this nice speaker here. So I'm going to try not to do it too loud, but just so everyone can hear what I'm kind of doing here and see it on the screen as well.
To enable audio accessibility mode, press 1 and then pound. You are now using the tablet with TalkBack, Android's accessibility service. To disable TalkBack, unplug your headphones at any time. To close this tutorial, press any key on the keypad.
So that's just like a 2-minute tutorial that runs through about where the actual the buttons are, where the USB ports are at the bottom that are actually being used right now. She's charging her phone right here, which is fun. But so there's another outlet if anyone wants to plug their phone in. So I just stopped that TalkBack tutorial. As it said in the prompt, if you just touch anywhere on the screen twice or press any key, it just ends the prompt. And to start it over, you just press 2. I don't know if the speaker is loud enough right now, or if you want me to use the mic down there. Jolly, just tell me if it's not loud enough. Put the mic down. Okay, cool. So I'll stop talking and just let the tablet do the talking for a bit, and I'll swipe through some features. And if you want me to do anything in particular, just raise your hand and I'll try it. And just one more thing. So it's the same.
Will end soon. Double tap the screen to continue. Resume button.
So as you kind of saw me do, it works the same as TalkBack and VoiceOver on your mobile phones and tablets and things like that. Selecting an item, you just tap on it, and to read an item, I should say, you tap on it, and to actually select it, you double tap anywhere on the screen. So I'm just going to swipe through a few things and have you guys understand it.
Get super fast, free Wi-Fi now. Open your device Wi-Fi settings. Free. Calls, in grid. Maps. New York. Local. Weather, currently clear, 74 degrees. 8 p.m., clear, 71 degrees. Social. Map. Free. Calls. Phonage dialer.
So that's something I want to call out with the dialer here. I'll kind of tease again something, and a cool feature that I think we have is all the gestures that TalkBack comes with. So double tapping and swiping to the top, and like L's and swiping left and right, and all those things. We actually mapped all of those gestures to the keypad. So if you look up on the screen here, 1 on the keypad actually slows down TalkBack, 3 speeds it up, 4 moves to the previous, 5 select, and so on and so forth. So this actually came from a direct user test that we did. The user that we were testing with found it really difficult to use the gestures on the touchscreen because he normally just used it on his phone, and it was just kind of confusing and weird to be able to swipe and do do L's and things like that. So we thought, well, the keypad's not being used well on TalkBack, so we can map each of the.
Will end soon. Double tap the. Resume.
So there's a timeout for an activity. That's what keeps popping up.
That's a timeout that we should have set to longer, so it didn't keep interrupting me. But for next time, I'll write that down. the point of the session is to end what the user's doing if someone has walked away from it, and then it just clears out all the data that's there. So if a user were to search for something in Maps after that 30-second window, the system just automatically clears out any search that they did and closes all the apps and kind of restarts everything fresh. So back to what the keypad that I was saying.
Tap to activate.
I thought it was really interesting that we did that. It was kind of figuring out a new way to use a kiosk with TalkBack. So we did a bunch of research with ATMs and ticket kiosks in different cities and in New York and things like that. And none of them had really done that with the keypad. So we thought it was intuitive. And so we did this and we published it on our website and things like that. And we try to share it out so users can kind of share knowledge. But when you open the dialer app here, we actually stopped doing the shortcuts. And so it's kind of easier to just type out on the keypad rather than navigate around on the screen. So if a user wanted to make a phone call, they could just type out here or just use TalkBack and swipe through.
9WXYZ 7PQRS. Double tap to activate.
So I'm just going to go back to the home screen. Does anyone want to see any features in particular or anything? You sure? This is your last chance.
Home button. Double tap to activate. Double tap. Transit. Updates in grid. Double tap to activate.
Another feature that we came up with from user testing was actually number 8. So to initiate a phone call to the Link NYC support team. This was kind of just a one-click call that the user group that we were testing with, they weren't very tech savvy, so they found some of the interface kind of confusing. So we thought this could be a good mitigation for a user to contact support, whether they're having a problem using it or signing up for their Wi-Fi or something like that, to kind of just quickly get them in contact with our support team who's on call and willing to help people. So.
Yeah, and I think the tactile keypad, the way that you can navigate the screen with the keypad was also really helpful for those users you were referencing, Kevin, that don't use TalkBack or screen readers typically on their phones. So having something that could touch where you just press sort of one key to go up and one key to go down was a lot more intuitive for them. So it was a really important way to get to,
Your
again, all New
session will
Yorkers,
end
not
soon.
just
Double tap
tech-savvy
the
New
screen.
Yorkers.
Resume button. Out of grid. End session button. Social. Transit. Updates. New York City. Guide. Trans. Community. Feedback. About. Double tap to activate.
So pretty straightforward, and we'll let you guys play with it in a second. So I don't know if you want to go to the next slide here.
Yeah. So just flagging one of Kevin's earlier slides. So we're seeing, with those 1,500 links in the ground, we're seeing about 40 TalkBack activations a week right now. The project, when we're done, will be 7,500 links. Like that? Okay. When we're done, it's going to be 7,500 links. So we are still very early on in the project, and those numbers will continue to grow. As I think both Emily and Kevin were mentioning, one of the biggest things that we understand about our project is that we are on the streets of New York City, and New York is the most diverse place in the country. Bronx and Brooklyn and Manhattan, those are diverse, unique ecosystems on their own. So we really try to get out in the community as much as we can and take feedback and make changes and help make it a part of the community. So I've presented to over 35 community boards. We meet with groups all the time. Some changes that we've made changes over the last 2.5 years directly based on community feedback, as Kevin has said. Another example was when we first launched, we heard that the ad screens, which we should also point out, pay for the whole project. So it was referenced, but it's really important. So the 2 screens on the sides, the 2 ad screens, make enough money to pay for this whole project to give free Wi-Fi, free phone calling, free TalkBack to anyone who would want it. But we heard that the screens were bright, and so we developed an ambient light sensor. So now the screens get brighter during the day and darker at night. So we're always trying to learn on things like that. This is just a slide to talk about some of the groups we've talked to. in relations to accessibility. Equal Entry has been amazing, and we wouldn't be here without them. So they're a huge support system for us. But we're always looking to talk to new and interesting groups every day. I'm trying to think if there was anything else we wanted to mention. Another part of the revenue aspect is we actually split the revenue with the city 50-50. So the city, not only does it not cost them anything, but they're also getting more money to do other projects as well. And we're all really proud to work on the project. So we welcome questions, and then we welcome people to come try the Link tablet.
So we're going to have to share that mic and use this mic.
Okay. So if you have a question, I'll run this mic over to you.
I want to hear more about your observations, your initial design work, and then your observations of the sight-impaired community taking advantage of this, because I notice it's Braille-enabled, it has these audio features. So, the design step, and then what kind of feedback you're getting from the field now in terms of usership.
Sorry, do you mean design of the kiosk itself or the software that we build? Or both?
I guess both. I'm thinking of the sight-impaired user community and engagement, from the design step, and then is this community actually taking advantage of it? I guess that's where ultimately.
Yeah. So I could take that one. For that community, kind of like Ruth was alluding to, we've kind of built off-the-book partnerships with some groups of these, the groups that, I don't know if you go back to that slide. And we try to go to like events like this and hear feedback from the field. It's not as easy because it's not like a website or an app where we can easily get feedback for something, because a lot of our users are transient. So they kind of walk by, do something, and leave, and we may never hear from that person again. We don't know how old they were, if they're a New Yorker. We don't know anything about them, right? So it's pretty difficult to figure that stuff out, as you can imagine. So to my point earlier of bringing in diverse user groups, when we deploy something new, specifically the software, because we don't really deploy changes to the hardware unless completely necessary. And Ruth could, or Emily's nodding her head, one of them could tell you the rules that we have around changing the hardware with the city. One of the things that we do with our development teams is we lay out 3 or 4 personas that we think would use the features that we're going to deploy, and then we try to bring those people in. So whether it's through community groups like these, or friends of friends, or we use Craigslist a lot actually as well, where we'll send out a screener and say, fill out this form, and if it's an 80-year-old male who is in a wheelchair or something like that, or is tech illiterate or whatever it is, we'll try to screen for those people and bring them in and give them some kind of compensation for their time as well. And really just like and test really hardcore with them. We have these great UX team that comes up with test scripts, and we have all these questions we want to get answered. We try to define all these tests down to 1 or 2 things that can be really tangible and easy to change, or easy to understand, I should say. One big thing that kind of came about all that was the tablet that you see here today wasn't the original tablet design that we deployed with. It looked much more like Android when we first deployed it. And then early on in the process, we brought in folks that were low or no vision, and they actually started testing it, and they found it impossible to use. So the touch radius was really small. So if anyone has an Android device or has like a Nexus tablet, it comes with a drawer. Android comes with this drawer at the bottom, and we only had 4 apps. So it's not like when you click your drawer on your phone that like a huge screen pops up and every app is there. It was really just at the bottom of the screen, and the users would kind of feel around and there was nothing there. So our first question was, how can we make these buttons more touchable? So that's why we came up with this kind of tile framework, like we refer to it, where the touch radius is is 4 or 5 times larger than it used to be. So it was really easy for us to quickly validate those things. So we came up with a bunch of different designs with different lines, different sizes of the tiles, circles, squares, pointing corners, non-pointing corners, did all these things, and we just like constantly for weeks and weeks and weeks brought in different types of users and just had them test it and give us, we film it, and kind of have them give us their feedback, and we would ask them questions, how they feel, if it's usable, what changes would they want, and that's where a lot of these features come from. So I hope I answered your question. Yeah. And we don't only do that with this, we do it with kind of all the products that we deploy at Intersection. We've kind of created this bug of needing to be to bring in users because we do a lot of other smart city tech, and the Link NYC team has from day one been proponents of just talking to users, right? For when we go to talk to executives, it's much easier to say all of these users want this thing, so that's what we're going to do, rather than 2 people in this room who are sitting in a conference room thought of this idea and we think it's going to work.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and just on the physical unit, from the very beginning, we talked with a lot of users. We brought in, we worked closely with Mayor's Office of Persons with Disability and some people at the New York Public Library to go through the iterations so that when we went to production, we had something we felt confident in, and we're 2.5 years in, and we feel very confident in the product. But yeah, it's very difficult to change something once it's in the ground. So you want to get it right beforehand. And
I kind of alluded to it, but you guys are more familiar with it than I am. But what are the rules and regulations around changing the hardware itself with the city?
Well, I guess there's 2 answers to that. One, within our contract, we will well, no, that's a software answer. Ignore that. The hardware outside, the outside view of the link, we had to get it approved by the city, by the design commission. Anything that would be changed that would last longer than a year, so a physical change forever, needs to go back to the design commission. So we worked really hard to get it right before we went through that.
And Ruth has a really interesting job at Intersection where she, I don't envy this at all, sorry Ruth, but she has to go and get all these things approved with the city. So as you can imagine, changing street furniture for a design aesthetic, even if it was changing the way that the buttons are laid out, or utilizing this hole down here for something that is not being used for right now, could take however long the city wants it to take.
One thing I will say though, we did get it approved by the design commission, and then 2 years ago, Link NYC won a design award from the New York City Arts and Design Commission, and that's the first time a piece of street furniture has ever won that award. So, yeah.
Thank you. So you talked a bit about TalkBack and how it works with the appliance. Were there any other kind of assistive technologies that are enabled on the device and available to people? Screen magnification, any kind of refreshable braille support for somebody who has a portable device with them, or high contrast support, those sort of thing?
It's a great question, and I forgot that because I didn't have my notes in front of me. But yeah, we do have a few of those features that you mentioned. So down in the left corner here, there is a settings button, and when you open that, we built this custom settings page. So like this is where we branched off of AOSP and kind of just did our own thing. So we got rid of all the settings that Android comes with and kind of built our own. So here we have at the top, it's a brightness control. So you can turn down the brightness or turn up the brightness. You can invert the colors here, and that works across the whole operating system then. And this is one of those things that's wiped out after a session. So if I would let it time out, it would just come back with non-inverted colors. And then you can obviously just go back to settings at any time and change that. And screen magnification, which I find the directions really difficult, but they're Android's stock directions. But yeah, so screen magnification, so at any point you come and zoom in like this. But I think you said like connective braille devices. We don't have support for those right now or anything because right now the only way to utilize the actual tablet computer is through the audio jack, and that's the only out mechanism from the computer itself, because the USB power down here actually just goes to a power cable. It does not touch the computer. So when you plug in your phone, like Amy just did, we're not wiping out your phone and stealing any data and pushing malware to your device. And it's great that I have this tablet here with you because I could actually show you guys that if you cared enough. I hope that answered your question. Cool.
So is there any way for deaf people to call 911 on that is my first question. And the second question is there video relay service for 911 or any other call purposes?
Yeah. So at this point, we've been working with the DO-IT, Department of Information Telecommunications and Technology at the city, and the police department. They are getting ready to roll out text to 911. So as they're rolling it out, we've been having multiple meetings with them so that we hope we can roll out as well. This is a completely bespoke product. So even when they roll out, we have to do engineering and software to be able to activate at the same time. But that's what we're working towards. So we hope that when it goes live, we'll be a part of that. And then we also have been talking with them. They have a video relay service for 311 that they've just started to launch, specifically the Mayor's Office of Persons with Disability. And we've met with that group, and we're working on how something like that could work. They themselves are in a bit of beta. They have one person who answers the phone, so we don't want to put it on a link and then have thousands of call locations where they could get overwhelmed. But we're talking to them about all of those ideas.
And to kind of follow up on that, so I'm not sure if you caught it during my demo, but there is a 311 app here, so we think it could be really great to have the video relay service through 311 services. And there is actually a camera right here. It's
Then pound.
I should have mentioned that earlier too. I will mention that in a second. But there's actually a front-facing camera right here too. So we have the hardware to support it, which would be probably the biggest hurdle if we didn't. So that's really exciting. And we've been working with Do It, like Ruth said. But because we've stripped out so much of AOSP, we have to do a lot of work to kind of utilize that camera and utilize some of these the video calls that we need to. I'm not.
Oh, I just want to clarify one thing is we provide access to 911, but 911 has to be able to answer what we're talking about, right? So 911 in New York City is building text to 911 so that they could answer a text. If we had it, they can't answer it right now.
And those are two separate things. So the 911 texting, and again, because this is AOSP and Android, it's great that we can add a text service to it. So that's something that we're in development with and testing, which is pretty exciting as well. So we're looking to add a text service so that you could actually, when Do It rolls out their service, that will actually be able to text them. And I don't know if we want to mention the call box tapping. So you can do that. I think you're more familiar with it than I am.
Yeah, it's actually something that we've been hoping to reach out to the community and understand from what we learn more about what we know. But there's the call boxes where you can call either the fire or police, and based on the tapping, either a 2-tap or a single tap, it will call either police or fire and come to that exact location. So that is the beauty of the kiosk, is we're a static location. So even if you do call and there's no voice going back and forth on the call, they still know that the call is there. 911 has to end the call. They'll send someone to the location. Either way, yeah.
Yeah. So the in the in and out speaker for just for reference is at the top here. So that's where you can kind of feel for a voice and also tap to let the operator know that you're there.
Yeah. Sorry, a follow-up question. Mm-hmm. So then for video relay service, we have to wait until the government sets up those systems instead of using the current video relay service apps that are already being used? Because this is through the city specifically, is that right?
Oh,
I can clarify on that a little bit. Sorry, to clarify on that a little bit, there's 2 video relay services that we want to provide. There's one which is a 3-in-1 provided, which would provide access to city services. So that's a service that MOPD just rolled out and that we want to integrate with. So that's one. And two is video relay services. So currently our app that we have for free calling is a Vonage telephone app. And we are looking to currently deploy a video relay service to make just regular phone calls, so not to 3-in-1. So that isn't relying on the government. That's relying on us and our partners figuring out the technology behind them and deploying them here where it doesn't require a login because we don't want users to have to log in with personal data and things like that. So we're trying to figure out the logistics and the requirements around that. Yeah. So 2 paths there.
Thank you.
If I could ask, and this is fine to do afterwards, we would love to hear feedback if the tapping system is something you had ever heard about, or if that's something people talk about now. So just as an aside.
And if you have any apps that you really like for video relay service, because right now we're in conversations with a handful, and we would want to know from our users' perspective what they prefer. So happy to chat after. And just for reference, the 2 I think we can say it's fine. They're just public apps. They're Sorensen and Purple are apps that we've been talking to.
Yeah, and the other one I think we're considering talking to is Glide. So love to hear sort of preferences from the community as well.
So we've got online questions.
Oh, great.
I'll voice. All right, so this is from Jonathan Katz, and he asked, how did you design for cognitive disability, both intellectual developmental disabilities and learning disabilities like dyslexia? And also, have you gotten feedback from people with cognitive disabilities?
Well, one thing specifically to dyslexia, we, on the tablet, which you'll see if you come up to it, we always try to have imagery as well as words, and minimal words because we're also concerned about multiple languages. So when it says phone, there's also a symbol for a phone. When it says maps, there's an image of the world, which is similar to what Google Maps uses. And so we always try to have both. And then.
Yeah, and to that point, we use a lot of material design assets to kind of keep consistent with the Android look and feel, and because we just really like their work. So you could see all the iconography here, and all the matching iconography is it's kind of small for everyone who's not as close as I am to it. But all these icons here are either custom built or something that we've that's an industry standard for iconography. And also we try to use color when we can for those type of things. And we've done some tests. We've gone to I forget I'm blanking on the name of the group that we worked with. Hopefully it'll come to me. But we've done some user outreach with that too, and tested our tablets. We've just brought the tablet with us to try to figure those things out. And I'm forgetting the name, but I will think of it, hopefully.
I'm not sure which one you're thinking of, but we've worked a lot with Martha Jackson at the Mayor's Office of Persons with Disabilities as well, and she's connected us with people of multiple abilities across the spectrum.
So hi, I'm really interested in the design and development of the accessibility functions, and I was curious if your team has an accessibility specialist or how you've divided the accessibility work. And then also I was curious how if like everyone on your team is knowledgeable about accessibility, or how you've educated your team about accessibility work.
Yeah, sure. I can take that one.
Okay, good.
So I don't think we actually introduced exactly our titles, and I'm realizing too. I'm the senior program manager for Link, so it means I touch a lot of the different parts of it, but one of the hats that I wear is the accessibility coordinator for Link NYC. And one of the things that we found it's really important to do is to provide training every year to everyone who works on the project, specifically the developers and designers and Kevin's team, who he does product development and design, but then the software developers, because the people who are actually writing the code need to be thinking about everyone when they're doing it. So we do an annual training, but in addition to that, our company intersection, and actually all 3 of us are part of this, we do something called communities of practice. So sort of in our spare time outside of our day jobs, we get together and have a tech accessibility community of practice. So we come together once a month. We talk about sort of new technologies that are out there that we're hearing about, hear about different communities. We do trainings from outside speakers. So it's just a way for us to make sure we're learning more things about the community, and actually like us coming out, talking to different groups. Kevin and Ruth also just went to, was that the Baruch? You want to talk about that one?
Visually impaired annual, I forget the name of it. I don't know if anyone else was there. Or conference. It was at Baruch College 3 weeks ago, maybe.
Yep. So we bring sort of our members of the team out into the communities too. So it's not just, Kevin who's helping to design it, but it's also the people who are building it who could think of a new way to put together the Android code to solve the solution better than someone who, like us, who doesn't write code.
Yeah, and even like deeper than that, at our core, like when we're coming up with requirements for, say, a new app that we want to add, or something to our website that we're adding, or a change to the onboarding captive portal that you saw, it's kind of just at our core that we write requirements based around inclusive design and accessible design. We have a really strong design team who really cares about it as well. So a lot of it is led by them, where I'm a product manager, so I'm not always doing the design or doing something, but I know that if I write a requirement that designer then designs with accessibility in mind, and that I never have to really check the colors to be WCAG compliant because I know they already are. Like, I don't have to go double check that work because our color palettes that we use in the design framework that we have is scalable and is accessible. So we try to kind of merge that then from the development lifecycle period from design to dev. So we talk about it a lot in our meetings, and we make sure that our QA engineers understand what tools are available to them to validate that things have labels and things are color compliant and things like that. So really, I'm both the gatekeeper and the gate closer in a lot of projects that we do on Link. We don't always pass a ticket or pass a body of work if it's not accessible. So, yeah.
And even if we still also know that we don't know everything, and so we do an audit often. So Equal Experts has been really helpful for us Equal Entry.
Yeah, and we fully understand that software is imperfect, especially ours. So things break, and sometimes we're not perfect. But we're always open to kind of being iterative and pushing new stuff. So. That answer?
That's one of the amazing things about having a piece of technology on the street, right? Compared to back in the day, or a DOT Wayfinder, when it's in the ground, but we have the ability to be agile and change and learn and improve.
Hey, I'm Matt. I am a product designer, and kind of to add to that question, how is your design team structured? And I think this is something you asked, but just to say it, did much of the design team have experience designing accessible products before they joined Intersection, or is that something they learned once they started with you?
So for the first question, we have a squad model. So I'll back up so Charlie can. We have a squad model that we have for all of our development teams. So what that means is that each of the development teams who work on a product or a core set of features is cross-functional. So that means they have a product person, they have engineers, they have QA, and they have a designer who's dedicated to owning design for that work. So we found that to be really successful because it allows that designer to kind of immerse themselves in the work and create the color palettes that they need and that they know are accessible, and things like that. So that's the first part of the question there. The second part, do we hire folks who have accessibility backgrounds and things like that? Not explicitly, but funny enough, on the product team right now, that has 5 or 6 designers and 10 or so product managers just working on Intersections products. I know that 2 of them have studied accessible design and written dissertations around accessible technology and things like that, and it was just kind of a natural fit, and they weren't hired because of that. It was just that that's something that they have in their bag of tools. So it's, yeah. And for you two, that's Angela and Cozy.
Guessing.
Sorry.
Yeah, me again, sorry. So you mentioned that with the hardware design, you did kind of some iteration, but you did a lot of research looking at, kiosks around in other countries and for different purposes, that sort of thing. I'm curious as to where these findings and conclusions might be documented, just so that, like, if somebody else is making a kiosk somewhere else and they want to know what you've done, how can they find that information? And what kind of general patterns around accessibility in kiosks have you found?
Yeah, so this, my comment about that was more, sorry, Jolly, I'm making your job really difficult back here, but my comment about that earlier was less about the design aesthetic of the structure itself and more around the usability of the interface. Okay, cool. So we've never, to my knowledge, we've never really...
We should put a blog post together about it and make
Yeah.
it out there for the world to see.
It's true. We've kind of long said that it's one of those things of like, we should write a blog that you kind of never get to, but we totally should publish it, on our website and make it available of our findings, because what we found was that there weren't much industry standards around kiosks. So we looked at ATMs, ticket kiosks, that's both in like the subway and in airports, and but also at like movie theaters and things like that. So like it kind of gets lost in how many times you like touch the screen at a kiosk, right? And that they're never the same. So we didn't really find any common practices, and we kind of just picked things that we thought were useful and interesting. So that alert that I forgot to tell you about was an alert that's read every time a user starts a session and then doesn't do anything for 7 seconds. The speaker automatically says, to enable TalkBack, click 1 and then pound. So we found that some Chase ATMs were actually doing this, and that it was we thought it was catching on a few years ago to the ATM community there of banks, and so we felt like that was right to kind of piggyback onto that and have that as one of our core features to be able to enable TalkBack with a simple key code. But again, you're right. We should document these things. It would be kind of cool to share out. I know that Material and Google, they do a really good job of this, and we can all probably learn something from that. So, yeah.
Just to add some context and color to that. So I work at Google, and I know the Material folks, and they're doing a great job. But the kiosk interactions in particular, I'm curious about, not because of my day job work, but because of the work that I'm doing actually with this gentleman right here at W3C, because we're in the Accessibility Guidelines Working Group, and we're looking at how to really move the guidelines forward. So we have WCAG and WCAG 2.0. WCAG 2.1 is coming imminently, but it's still very, very solid and set in a structure that it expects web browsers and web pages not having really changed since WCAG was originally written. And so one of the things that we're looking at is scope of accessibility guidelines and technology, and any research that you have that could inform that would be awesome.
I think we should definitely talk after this, because that would be great. Yeah. Cool. Does anyone else have questions while I'm over on this side of the room?
Can we get these in the subway?
One of you guys want to take that?
That would be amazing. We have a project that is specific to replace the payphones. So when you're dealing with New York City, we have a specific agency that we have our contract with and a very specific place within the city that we're allowed to be. But we get questions like that a lot. Can this go in a park? And it's like, we would love that, but we're not with the Parks Department. So we're just with Do It right now. But
And Intersection, our company, does have other products that are not exactly like Link, but they're similar. They're digital kiosks in public spaces. So, the kiosks that are on the subway platforms, we wrote software that runs on those for a while. And then we also have a transit product that we've deployed in Chicago, in SEPTA, in Philly, and other places that I'm obviously not on the transit team. So yeah, but those don't actually emit Wi-Fi. They're just like wayfinders and informational hubs. But as a subway rider, I hate transit wireless, and not because I work for Link, just because I think it's really bad. So yes, I would love as a user to have Link Wi-Fi in the subway.
Yeah. some other, I guess, just interesting tidbits. Link was started here in New York for New Yorkers by New Yorkers, but since then it really has taken off. And so we do have Link in the UK. We are in London and in Leeds. We'll continue to grow there. And we just announced we're bringing Link to Philadelphia, to downtown Philadelphia, which has the second highest population of downtown anywhere after New York. So we're excited to grow. That means if you travel to either of those places, the Wi-Fi will work instantly there as well, and it will come with all the same accessibility features.
And as a New Jersey resident, I have to plug Newark is getting them as well.
Newark is, yeah. And do we have one on the West Coast? I think in 2020 or 2019, I think we've announced Link LA,
so
which
we're
is
growing.
part of their expansion of transit as well. So there's actually going to be some transit products that come along with that because they have the above rail system there. So that's pretty exciting. So almost get your witch, but you have to go to LA. Sorry.
Yeah. And then
there could be worse things, I guess.
something else that we should have said earlier that I remembered. The tablet that you're looking at right now is what the average everyday tablet is, but we can do special features on the tablet that we'll do from time to time. They're also accessible. We just finished working with participatory budgeting, which allows people in certain districts, if their council member chooses to set money aside, to vote for things they want in their community, such as a new park or updated streetlights or whatever it may be. And so that you could vote for that on the tablet. You could register to vote in general, register for the general election from the tablet the few weeks leading up to it. You could also register for healthcare the last few weeks that healthcare enrollment was open. So we're always trying to make the tablet useful and interesting to the people who need it.
Yeah, and for that type of work, this large square at the top of the tablet screen over here is what we utilize for that. Right now, it's just a promo area, has a picture of the New York skyline, and it has directions, the same directions that we showed earlier, for onboarding onto the Wi-Fi. But this is the area that we take over for many fun things that, like Ruth is mentioning. If anyone here has some good ideas or again wants to collaborate on something like that, it's always an area that we try to do something interesting. We did for the past 2 years, we've done a really fun Call Santa promo. So we found this free service where it's just a voicemail for Santa Claus, and just tapping a button here just initiates a phone call and has this fun voicemail, and we get a lot of engagement out of it, so it's kind of fun.
There were a few people who called on Christmas, and I think they didn't like what they got, so they were like, "This isn't what I asked for." But
yeah. So
besides that, it's fine.
And that's like classic New York, a 13-year-old telling you that they didn't get what they wanted from a street computer. So that's that's kind of the people that we love to work for.
Cool.
Any other questions before Thomas cuts me off? Quick, 3, 2.
All right. Well, thank you guys. It's been an awesome presentation, and thank you again, everyone that came out for our meetup tonight. Next meetup will be the first Tuesday of June. We'll be publishing that announcement out. As you know, you can go to our meetup page. We have a Twitter page, and all of our previous presentations are on youtube.com/A11yNYC. As is this presentation that was live streamed. The same URL works to go back and watch the presentation afterwards. Also, just want to plug again those instructions for setting up the private network. If you're on an iOS device, I use that on my phone, and it's been awesome walking around the city ever since I set it up. I'm always on the Link Wi-Fi, and right outside my apartment actually doesn't have cell service, but I get connected to the Wi-Fi automatically, and it's like, wow.
Is it in your apartment? Does it reach into?
I don't get.
No,
I wish that. But yeah, so it's really great, and I think just to call that out again, that those instructions are up here at the front. So thanks everyone, and feel free to come try out the link up here and discuss and network afterwards. Thanks.
Thank you.
And your security is important. If you have an iPhone, you should definitely do the extra 2 steps, 3 steps to install the profile because, why not have some extra security in your life?